Good morning, shut-ins.
Yo, 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 yo.
How's everyone doing this morning? I guess we don't have your laptop plugged in, huh? We have a cool show today. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Ricardo. Good to see you, man. Rianne, Lady J, good to see you. Heather Marie, as always. It's always amazing to have Heather Marie with us working her magic.
Good morning, good morning.
We have a great show today. We have Cheryl with Rehabulous with Nurse Cheryl. And then we also have Jodi Chapin coming in with Green Nurse on the Grow with a special guest, Rick Campanella from Brothers Grimm Seeds.
Rick.
So Rick is going to be helping. Let's see if we can have the dog on.
I just had to call out Barstool Sports for being who they are. No, we're not gonna start it off like that today. We're gonna be chill. I'm fired up. I have a friend who's been on, he was in the high school football team. He got a scholarship, went to play at Nebraska, played around a bunch of us, went on to the league, made some money there, and, now he's partnered with Barstool Sports. I just thought it was interesting. So yeah, I had a group message I had to send out, a group text with 35 football players in it and him. And I had to just talk about Barstool. I had to say what I feel about Barstool, how I feel about their sports network. Hey, my skin is looking a little different today. I don't know. I got some African soap yesterday, and ooh, I can already see the results. Blood looking cleavy. Yeah. Tell you, African soap is no joke. It works. Did I lose my top fan? Yeah. Lady J, you probably ain't been in the comments. Probably ain't been hitting the like and the love button, which is cool, but you're just not gonna get your
Lady J,
top fan back.
Lady J, you need to go to the page and then hit community, and when you hit community, then you can go in and accept whatever badge, or sometimes there's multiple badges, and you might be eligible for multiple badges. But that's
soap is good soap. It's the best soap you can use.
Also, if you're looking, there's something about a moderator too, and Heather Marie Brown has had difficulty accepting her top fan badge. But we know you're a top fan. Full disclosure, I did not at all today do my hair. And my tie was all crooked.
I didn't do my hair neither. I just did my beard.
How's our audio doing today? And are you done talking about the African soap? Not that you need to be.
Yeah, I'm done. African soap is good. I mean, y'all can see the results. You see how the light is hitting it a little bit better than usual. And my teeth still like, okay. Well, my teeth ain't as white because I was eating before we started. Usually I brush my teeth right before we start, so then they hit the light just right. But today, I had a little food before,
Also, full disclosure, I believe I've worn this tie before.
Uh-oh. Somebody's running low on ties.
No, actually not at all.
Oh, damn.
Are we low on those, though?
We got no rollies.
What? All right, so right now we're putting out an emergency call for rollies during the show. We need...
They don't sell them in the store like they used to no more. Mike, your mic keeps cutting off. Yours especially. I want the Chica Leaguers. I got win, losers in there. I accept defeat.
I feel like it's probably like a bad connection or something.
Win or lose, I won't say.
I'll have to hold it tightly, which kind of sucks. Thanks, Trish.
Everybody say I got the sauce. Well, I got the recipe. I be sipping on Bel Air because it make me feel like I'm on ecstasy.
I don't know,
Song.
I don't know. Maybe we
It's a
need to do
song.
something about these mics.
It's a song. It's a song, guys. It's Kodak. That's what I be listening to in the morning. Kodak is my vibe. If y'all want to listen to what I listen to in the morning, see how I wake up, listen to painting pictures, Kodak Black. That's what I listen to. I tell you the songs I listen to first, and then I go through the album. You know, 'cause it takes me a while to get ready. Believe it or not, it takes a lot for all of this to get ready.
What's up, JoJo?
What it do, JoJo? It takes a lot for this to get ready, so I just make sure that, you know,
I don't think my mic is cutting out.
I just make sure that I got some good music to play when I'm fixing this.
Fixing all that chocolate up. No, there's no loose wires internally, just up in here, probably.
Up in where?
No, there's no loose mic. I don't know. I'm listening to stuff and it's not cutting
You
out.
said you got loose wires in your head? Is that what you said?
You should scoble your music.
What does that mean?
There's no short circuit. I don't know. But he says he uses Last FM to track his title. I think he was doing a play on words. What's up, Latoya with a capital T? Thanks for sharing the stream, Jack. What's up, Robert Baby Boy Jeffrey? Thanks for liking the stream. We appreciate it. Joe, who's Cheryl's sister.
Hey,
He's watching.
Merch. That's the merch. Buy the merch.
Shout out to Joe. We're going to let some Cheryl action on in. And I'm just going to come on over and fix the Zoom a little bit.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Or you can hear me?
We can.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Mike.
Good morning, Latoya. How you doing? How you doing?
Good morning, Sharon.
I'm doing good.
Thanks for
Good morning. It's very bright in the room I'm in. Usually I'm in like a darker room, so I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
So it's like Casper the Good.
You're very well lit. And you're looking great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks. It's good to see you guys.
You know, Cheryl, before we get into any important conversations, I'm just wondering, where's Oscar?
Where's Oscar?
Yeah.
He's hiding. He's hiding in my closet because I think we're getting like a thunderstorm or something, and he hates those. So I gave him the CBD, and he'll come in eventually, I'm sure. But right now he's hiding in my bedroom closet. So.
Gotcha. All right. Well, maybe he'll come out before the end of the show. Well, who knows?
He'll make an appearance, I'm sure. or I'll just go get them.
So Cheryl, we're psyched that you're with us. Thanks for coming on today. How have things been going?
How are things going? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was having a hard time hearing you.
Yes, we were asking how things were going.
What?
How are things going, Cheryl?
Now I can hear you better. I can't hear you with the microphone. It's like it echoes. I'm doing fine. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But finally, things in this state are calming down, which is what every nurse and doctor and physician's assistant, we've been praying for this month since the start of the pandemic. And now it's like, it's calming down. We're seeing some things that are like normalcy. So I'm happy about that. And I'm happy to see the hospital going back to normal. We still have a far ways off before life kind of returns to the way it was before the pandemic here in Massachusetts. But in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, we're doing okay. Unfortunately, we're not doing so okay in the rest of the country. So what's going to happen to all these nurses and doctors up here and in New York and, from California and New Jersey, where we've all had experience fighting this virus in a hot zone type level situation. Now we're being asked to go down and lend a hand to the South and the Southwest that has been hit really particularly hard. So we all have that to look forward to. So my protective gear fundraising and all that is going to probably start up again because I'm going to need to lend a hand to my fellow nurses down south and try to get them some PPE and get them ready and get them equipped for what they're going to be facing in the upcoming weeks. So, busy, the way I always am.
Are you finding like there's a lot of people in Massachusetts getting hit up to go travel down to other hotspot areas, or?
Yeah, we're definitely being asked because up here, if you look at our numbers and you look at how the cases and the case rates are lately, we're doing so well. We have one of the best public health education systems up here in Massachusetts and in New England. And we've done it's been a hard job educating people and getting people to be cooperative and proactive about keeping themselves and loved ones safe and following social distancing guidelines and, virus prevention guidelines. But we've taken it on and we've gotten people to listen and to be cooperative and to try to tune out, for the most part, the political rhetoric. We still, like nurses and doctors, are still perplexed and confused as to why politicians are trying to politicize this virus, or the news and the media. They try to politicize it, and it's really not a political issue. It's a safety issue. And it's about thinking about your fellow man and looking out for each other. So something as simple as teaching the public on how to wear a mask or why you should wear a mask has become a nightmare. So we've finally accomplished that up here. In Massachusetts, people are the most cooperative from standpoint when you look at studies from around the country about social distancing, washing their hands, proper hand washing technique, and wearing masks. And also self-isolating, self-quarantine. We have pretty good numbers with that. But that's because of the education we've been giving. Down south, in particular in states like Florida, they're not receiving that same education. So when you reach out and you talk to nurses from Florida or Arizona or from Texas, these really hard hit states, they're not even getting proper guidance from their leadership and their local, political health leaders. They're not. So they're unsure about how to approach education right now. They're unsure about if they are even being supported in getting the amount of protective gear that's required for them to do their jobs. And they're having a hard time getting people to listen. So the main reason they'd be pulling us down there would be for education, public health campaigns, and also bringing protective gear and teaching these hospitals who have not seen a hot zone situation how to properly utilize their protective gear, conserve it, things like that. So that's what we have to look forward to in the upcoming summer months.
And so are we actually finding, though, here in Massachusetts that it's is the curve flattening in the right
Yeah.
direction?
We have the best numbers in the country at the moment. We've really flattened the curve. In fact, the past 2 days, we've had no reported cases of deaths related to corona or COVID. That's great news. And that includes nursing homes and assisted livings. So we're doing quite well. And the reason for that is because we have one of the most aggressive contact tracing systems in the country. People hear the words contact tracing and they go mental. They think it's like a conspiracy theory. Oh, they're tracking me on the phone and everything. When we say contact tracing from like a medical point of view, what we mean by that is if you are tested and you come up positive, your nurse and doctor or whoever you're seeing, nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, will aggressively here sit and try to help you determine, okay, well, how many people have I been around in the last 14 days? Where have I been? Where have I gone? And we're finding people up here have been really cooperative and voluntary about, letting everyone they've been around know, hey, I'm sick. I'm having to quarantine myself. You probably. So that's worked very well. And also what's working well is we have the laws to wear masks here in our state. Other states with these ridiculously high case numbers they don't have laws. So it's basically you're having to trust people to do the right thing. Here it's a law. I hate wearing masks out in the store. I hate it. It's uncomfortable. I have to wear them 16 hours a day sometimes at work. So think about it. That's the last thing I want to do when I leave work is put a mask on. But we do, right? We all do it here because we have access to some of the best hospitals in the country here and the best doctors. So, we've gotten great guidance on that. And we know that wearing masks, if everyone wears a mask, like in a store, if you're in the mall, restaurant, whatever, if you're inside where there's air conditioning and circulated air, if everyone were to wear a mask, and reduce the amount of droplet transmission that comes out of your mouth. If you're wearing a mask, a triple layer mask, like an approved mask, Dr. Mary Clifton, she has her infomercial. Her masks are great. I highly recommend hers. Or even just like a regular old paper triple layer surgical mask that you get at CVS or Walgreens or a medical supply store. You'll reduce the amount of transmission of droplets. It goes from being spread 8 to 12 feet to 2 to 4 inches in front of your face. So if everyone were to wear a mask, the number from Harvard Med School is that the risk of transmitting the virus to each other drops to about 80% when you couple that by 80%. So you're reducing your risk of contracting the virus by 80% if you wear a mask coupled with social distancing at least 6 feet apart from someone who's not from your direct household or like someone who you don't have routine contact with. So we do know that. And that campaign has been working here very, very well. Plus we have the phased, the slow opening. So we did our opening in stages as opposed to Texas, Arizona, Florida, these states that just opened everything up and said, it's a matter of liberty and it's a matter of control. Well, they opened up everything with no real system in place, not even really looking at their testing numbers before they even have proper testing available. And we decided in Massachusetts and New England to do it differently, and it's worked out wonderfully for us. So I'm hoping that these other states are watching us and are open to learning from us because we've gotten it under control here, and I hope it stays that way.
Cheryl, are there any changes with folks being able to rewash masks? Are there certain masks that people shouldn't be? They should just be disposing of them instead of trying to clean them, or?
You mean like the cloth masks?
Well, I guess somebody in the comments was mentioning that there were reports that certain N95 masks from China shouldn't be reused.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of reusing N95s. I don't think it's safe. And at this point, they should be disposed of after every use. Unfortunately, we've had all these months and our country has still not come through with providing the proper level of protective gear for our nurses, and it's an issue. So, for example, the hospital where I'm at and associated with, Tufts really hardcore did not want nurses reusing masks. We're just taught that that's not a safe thing to do, especially those N95 masks. I know they're like a blue-green color. If you see them, those are the most popular. They don't have a valve on them or anything. It's just the standard N95, and it's blue, and it's kind of got like a funny oval shape to it. They were testing those. They did a study on those where we had this big disinfectant machine here in Somerville disinfecting these masks, and it didn't. They weren't holding up, and nor were they properly protecting healthcare workers. So what we did in my hospital, for example, is we found these masks that have disposable filters. So every time we're wearing our N95, we're just simply changing the filter out in it and getting a fresh new sanitary filter in between each use. So you have to research all your options. In a lot of the healthcare facilities that I reach out to from different states, they're still not even aware of that. They're still thinking that you can disinfect masks in between each use. It's really not a healthy or safe practice, and it's something that the Massachusetts Nurses Association is aggressively cracking down on, and we're calling out facilities who are doing that, because you are putting your nurses and doctors at risk by making them reuse a mask or even going through that process of sanitizing it. How do you know? How do you know if it's safe? So there certainly is enough money in this country to provide us with enough protective gear, and it should have been done already. And it really saddens me that I'm still getting emails about going to Florida and bringing down protective gear to help these men and women out down there so they can work and be safe. It's not right. So that's just my 2 cents. To stay safe? So here's the thing. I highly recommend not getting your information from your politicians, because some of the politicians down there have turned this into a circus. They're using it for votes and numbers. Do not get your health and safety tips, ideas, suggestions from your politicians. Clearly in your states, they have not managed the thing well if you're having these ridiculous numbers where we're seeing like 10,000 new cases a day. And in fact, I was watching the news today, and the governor of Florida was basically outright lying and saying, oh, our hospitals aren't overloaded and my case rate is perfect in my state, so I won't be closing. In my nursing opinion, he's insane, because his case rate is ridiculous. In fact, he's averaging at like 22% right now in his state, and he should be closing. And businesses should be closing if they're not essential right now. And you have over 75% of his ICU beds in the state of Florida full. So you're getting to a point in that state where you have certain hospitals that have overreached their capacity, and they're now having to turn patients away. So if you live in a state like Florida, in particular the South, Florida, Georgia, Texas, these are really hard hit states in the Southwest, Arizona, you should be getting all your health information, not from your politicians who are trying to make themselves look better and cover themselves for reopening too soon. You should be getting your information from your local health officials. Whoever, if your local Department of Public Health is telling you to wear a mask, listen to them. If you're uncertain if they're telling you the truth, call your local primary care physician. That's the best person I would get my safety information from, is your local doctor who lives in that area, who sees and knows and treats what's going on. The news is getting really divided too. So I just wouldn't even, I block out all of what the politicians say and all of what the news says. I just go straight to the source, which is my primary care physician, even me. And I'm a nurse, and that's done me well and served me well throughout this. The next thing I would say is wear a mask. Every study that's been done on this virus in a mask has proven equivocally that wearing masks and being cooperative about it in public places like church, grocery stores, shopping malls, restaurants. That is the safest thing to do. And that's the best way to keep your family safe. And the other big thing is don't just assume that if you're having a family gathering and you live in one of these states right now, just don't assume that your family, because they're family members coming over to your house, that they're safe. Because we saw that here in Massachusetts. A lot of the cases and outbreaks stemmed from family gatherings and family get-togethers. If you're having like a wedding, a birthday party, a baby shower, and you want to do like a social distancing party at your house, right? That's totally cool and fine. We're doing that up here too. But some of the things that we suggest up here are that maybe you get tested. Go to a testing site a few days before the party. Get yourself tested. See if you have the antibodies or see if you actually are carrying the virus, and then appropriately self-quarantine. I urge everyone to get tested. It's no big deal. It's a minor inconvenience. It takes a few minutes. The more people who get tested, the more people know, do I have it? Do I not have it? And, then you can take the proper steps to keep yourself safe. But going to crowded bars, nightclubs, the stuff I'm seeing coming out of Texas, Florida, all these places, and places throughout the South, dining indoors, I'm not a fan of this summer. Eat outside. And now, we're going to lose our bars. So what? Drinking in bars, we don't need it for a little while. If you want to go out and hang out with your friends, stay outside. Like go outside, go to a restaurant outside where you sit down at a table and you have some space between you, and look to see if the wait staff is actually like wearing masks and encouraging safety, stuff like that. Be proactive for your own health. You don't have to wait for your governor to tell you to be safe. If you're going to wait for that, they're just going to throw you right under the bus. They don't care. And that's been made pretty clear in some of these states. I am happy to see that the Texas governor is starting to wake up a little bit and like slow some things down and close some things up to keep his people safe. But you're in charge of your own health. So you be proactive and you do the things yourself and you teach your family how to stay safe rather than waiting for someone else to do it.
Cheryl, what about masks and exercising outdoors?
For me, all right. So I don't think that that's necessary. If you are in a packed, crowded group, then okay. If you're outside running by yourself, you have no one around you, you do not need a mask on. You don't. You're out in fresh air. If you're hiking on a trail and there's no one around you, you do not need a mask on. I carry one with me and I put it on if I see people who are going to be passing me close, and then I take it back off, because you're just going to overheat and give yourself heat exhaustion if you do that. For me, the mask wearing is more important and most important indoors, like in air conditioning situations, recirculated air. Any situation where you're under recirculated air. When you are outdoors, if you have enough space between you and other people, I certainly think it's safe to take it off. But if you're at the beach, unfortunately, here in Massachusetts, it's kind of a law. So, but when you're exercising, I would practice good common sense. And, you don't need that on to go running down, like to take a run around the block.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, we're sorry that the weather has caused an Oscar delay.
Yeah. I think he's in the kitchen now. I can grab him if you want.
Oh, that would be awesome. I miss him.
You missed him. He's doing much better this week. Hold on, let me grab him.
Oh, and by the way, that's what. By the way, folks, coming up soon, we have Jodi Chapin with Green Nurse on the Grow with special guest Rick Campanella from Brothers Grimm Seeds. We'll let Cheryl put her. There's Oscar.
Can you see him?
We can. Hold him up just a hair.
Oh,
He can't hear us because she's got those headphones
Oscar!
in. So is he feeling a lot better?
Yes, as you can tell, he's just totally tangled himself up in my microphone. He's feeling much, much better. He's been playing outside. Oscar, knock it off. And he wants to get down. He wants to go play. So he's been bouncy and running around and back to normal Oscar.
That's awesome. It sounds like maybe the CBD helped.
CBD really did help him. And I'm not, it's the God's honest truth, because he didn't start getting better until I started giving him the CBD. In fact, I had to, what was it, like a week ago I was on your show? That day he had like a little setback. So I upped him to like 2 to 3 times a day on the CBD. And then since then he's been like a miracle. So he's doing really, really well. But yeah, he wants no part of hanging out with me today. He wants to go eat and hide in my closet and chew on my shoes. So that's him.
Awesome. Well, Cheryl, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us for a little bit and giving us some good updates on COVID and some good tips. And it's always good to see you and Oscar.
Thank you. Oh, and before I go, I just wanted to say one thing.
Yeah.
In the past week, I've been a long-standing friend of MassCan for a long time. With my background of working in medical cannabis and being an advocate, I was really, really disappointed last year with Sampson's actions. As you know, I'm a big gay rights advocate and an ally. That broke my heart last year with the Straight Pride Parade. And I made my feelings very well known. And I was shot down then and told I wasn't knowing what I was talking about. This year, I think we clearly can see, if you're in the medical cannabis community, this is a real problem. Sampson's actions really detract away from our cause. It's racist. There were white nationalists there at that rally there, that group, that super happy fun America invited. I think that's a real issue. For me as a nurse, I recognize that racism is also a huge public health emergency in our country. And rallies like that with white nationalists, is he kidding me? That does nothing productive for our community. It's an embarrassment for us as a cannabis advocacy community. And I want everyone to reach out to MassCan, to their board of directors in the next coming several days, and specifically let them know how that made them feel last week, seeing that go on. And how does that help us? It doesn't help us. So I really hope that if MassCan is watching, I had a long talk with Grant Smith, and I really appreciate Grant's feelings on this. And I've spoken with some of the other MassCan leaders who feel the exact same way. They need the community support right now. They need people to speak up and say, hey, it's wrong and Sampson needs to go. He needs to go. It's more than time. Yeah. So if you have a strong feeling on it, speak up.
They also all should have been speaking up, and many of them did,
yes.
and resigned from the board. And so it's appropriate that people are finally taking action, but it's pretty highly inappropriate that they all had to wait until there was a public outcry.
This action should have happened a long time ago. I have no personal beef with anyone there, but it should have happened a very long time ago, a year ago. This should never have been allowed to happen. And you no longer, with all the changes that are happening in this world, we can't keep saying, oh, let's not make waves and let's keep the peace, for peace sakes. It hurts everybody. His presence there hurts everybody. And he's somebody up on the North Shore near where I live, where a lot of us know who he affiliates himself with and who he hangs out with. It's not good. So, yeah, it should have happened a long time ago. And there are members on that board who desperately need other voices to help, they need their help to stand up against racism. And it never should have come to this. We shouldn't have to be pushing so hard, for crying out loud. The Phantom Gourmet, for a heck of a lot less, even though it was wrong, we kicked his ass right out, So this shouldn't even be a debate. It shouldn't even have to be this big of a discussion.
Yeah, the Phantom Gourmet doesn't throw a big party usually every year that a bunch of people want to go to and be associated with and be able to be involved with. So, I think what it is that, depending on the particular case of racism in a particular sort of community that we see it in, that people just have a price. People have a price to be racist. And, that's unfortunate, but I think it's really inexcusable in the cannabis, the cannabis community, and maybe not from a patient standpoint. I mean, I think their standard should be different than somebody who is an advocate or who is working and or has ownership even in the cannabis industry, because the industry would not be made available for anyone in the way that it is if there hadn't been a planned war on drugs, a planned action against black people, right? And for I don't know, for almost 100 years now, going on 100 years, this has been in place. And when the cannabis industry was finally opening back up to like lots of people being able to have access to it, that's a great thing that it opens up like that. But I think that the people that really want to take advantage of that, they don't have to have a moral obligation to do what's right, but really they should, out of any industry that they decide to put their time and energy and focus into. If they want to be a plumber and they want to be a racist plumber, they can. I personally, I don't approve of any racism anywhere, but I probably have a lot less to say about a racist plumber than I do anyone that resides within anything other than a patient within the cannabis community. And even patients, I mean, nobody should be racist, but, I think that people should still have access to medicine even if they're racist. I think they should be allowed that leeway. But I do feel strongly that that folks that are soft on racism, folks that support other people who are racist and sit by and watch that, they should be held accountable too. That includes,
and this is,
I
by the way, agree.
And it's not that I understand, individual people, we all, white people are in a real tough spot right now, because many of them don't feel empowered to be able to say anything when they see something that's going wrong. But just, and they don't need to, but, folks, I don't understand how folks wake up in the morning feeling good about themselves in the cannabis industry when they're, when they can't say something like Black Lives Matter. If they really don't believe, and I'm not talking about the organization Black Lives Matter, because we see lots of different forms of gaslighting going on at different points. And one of those is that people conflate the idea that a black person's life matters versus a political organization that has been, running that effort for years. And, so for anyone to say that a black person's life, if they can't say that and they're in the cannabis industry, they should really, they should question their moral compass, and they should be prepared that people aren't going to stay quiet about that. And by the way, so this includes, and I can appreciate your stance and the way that you have been trying to have discussions with folks, but there's no excuse for anyone from there's zero excuse at this point, because the people,
there's no excuse,
because
there
the people,
Nazis
because
there.
The current board members,
think about this.
The current board members had an opportunity to resign a long time ago if they didn't like the way that this was going. And it's not for a few good people in a bad organization to decide that they're going to continue to prop up that organization and then call for additional support just because they feel strongly and that's the thing, is they have a price. All of these existing board members have a price on racism, and they're displaying it loud and proud to everyone right now by continuing to back them up. LaToya, there's 0 board members that are people of color on MassCan, and nobody's talking about that either, and nobody has made an effort. In fact, we have members of the black community that have written to MassCan even last year saying the fact that you have Samson, you have a white nationalist, you have somebody who's homophobic and racist on your board means that we can't have anything to do with you. And they remained perfectly, MassCan didn't care enough back then when it was just people as individuals trying to reach out. And I understand this is the way that we should maybe potentially voice our displeasure with MassCan, is to reach out and write them. But clearly that hasn't worked in the past. And the only reason why they're doing anything about it now is because they're under such intense public scrutiny. So,
well, but think about that. Think about what led to that. Because this man felt so comfortable and okay because he knew he wouldn't get in trouble with them. Of having a rally and
every single person that contributed to MassCan, whether as a sponsor, a speaker, a supporter, or a member who knew that man was leading that organization, has to apologize. And it isn't simply, now that we're being called out on it, let's do something about it. It's time to shut it down. It's time to shut down MassCan.
Well, no, I don't think it's time. I think it's just time for a change, a total leadership change. New laws.
And so, Cheryl, that would include all existing board members to step down. And how are we going to insert people of color and women who actually haven't been marginalized and their voice has been neutered in that organization already? How do we get all of those people in there? It's impossible. Their rules are not set up to allow as such.
No. And
we're not, and guess what, Cheryl? Nobody wants to wait until January for them to fix their problems. The only time that is going to be the only time that they can vote in new people, the only time they can vote in new members of their board is going to be in January. So
who says? That's their magical made up laws. They're not a government agency.
They can't change them without going through significant effort, and they already went through significant effort to change their rules to protect their ability to support a racist and homophobic ideology within the confines of their board. That organization, and by the way, Normal National doesn't really care because they're rooted in the same sort of ideology as well. So their response when they were told that this was happening, their response to it was, "Hey, they don't give us any money every year from the Freedom Rally." That was
Are you kidding me?
That was their response.
Who cares if they give you money?
And
they represent you.
Cheryl, I agree with you. No one should care about that, but that's what they all do care about. That's what's important. That's what's important to them.
That's passing the buck and not wanting to get involved.
Cheryl, hold on a second. Even when the Freedom Rally was canceled, they proceeded to do educational content, almost none of which has people of color in there. Almost none of which. And the people of color came through other people. So I counted in all of their educational content 3 people of color, 2 of which came through Elevate Northeast, and 1 of which came through Pearson Crosby. None of which came directly through MassCan, trying to bring local people of color within the community that do have important things to say and do have issues that need to be broached. None of those, and MassCan traditionally wasn't interested in bringing people of color to speak on things anyway. In fact, the last time that I attended an event at the State House where MassCan had people speaking inside the State House, the only people of color there that were inserted were people that had a fiduciary relationship with a board member. And in fact, other people of color stepped down that day and refused to come and speak because of who MassCan was putting in. So we're not just talking about one person. In fact, I don't ever see Sampson at any MassCan event. I don't see him when we would go speak on the State House steps. I wouldn't see him when there were the day, and maybe he was there. I never saw him. What I did see was everyone else from MassCan there, including board members, propping up the continuous, and we can go into other things over the last few years that they had done that were supporting racist ideology that they kept silent on and they weren't interested in making right or admitting to. So the whole organization, unfortunately, our cannabis community is rooted in racism. And there is no turning this around with any of the current folks that are there. In fact, most of the good folks that could turn things around have left. And in fact, none of all these new members that folks are, well, come and pay $30, give us more money because then you'll be able to help to vote, because that's the only way we can self-police our organization is if we actually have more people voting.
Dumb.
That's awful and stupid. And plus what it's doing is it's just generating more revenue for people who are still in power. You know what? They should force those two people to step down. In fact, everyone should just resign. In fact, everyone should revoke their memberships. That organization should just go away. It shouldn't exist as it does anymore because we don't need a freedom rally. The freedom rally is never going to happen the way that it has again because they've already ruined their chances with the city of Boston to have a multi-day event of that size. Boston doesn't want them anymore. Right?
But we need to take the first step here. First step, like all this, we do need to change, and all of this needs to be blown apart and changed. The first step is you remove the distraction, so we can actually talk about in the community the underlying problems.
The other people on the board are removed also. Then it could, because as soon as
wait a minute, whoever backs him being there or who brought him back on the board,
all of them, Cheryl, including the membership that was allowed to vote at that point. All of them, all of those people are soft on racism. They were all willing to turn a blind eye, and none of them, and Cheryl, none of them should want to be associated with that anymore. And what it does by all of them continue, every single person that continues to fight for MassCan is soft on racism. 100%. 100%.
I agree. I was very upset with their response to the rally the other day. I was like emailing, and I was saying, just wait a minute. I was saying, like,
Cheryl, you know how many cannabis industry people showed up to the Black Lives rally? The anti like white pride rally that they were running. Do you know how many of us showed up? 3. It was Eric and I and Adam from Beantown. Nobody else showed up. Not one person from that community. And I'm sorry. I think Adam Souza, I heard that Adam Souza was there. So that's 4. We have 4 people from the cannabis community that thought it important enough to show, especially this. None of them showed up. None of them, and everyone's quiet, Cheryl. And I still see people liking MassCan stuff. Their response was tepid. Their response publicly around Black Lives Matter in the first place only came out after I called them out publicly on it, and then they rushed to finally. Had been talking for weeks about it. Their organization should not exist.
Response. Like, you call them out, and then they're like, "Oh, well, Mike Dube's doing this, or Mike Crawford's saying this," and I'm like, who's talking to you about Mike Dube or Mike Crawford? No one. I'm talking to you about your board member who invited a very dangerous group of men with him to this rally. No one is discussing Mike Crawford or Mike Dube. Mike Dube did not make Sampson invite white nationalists who are known dangerous people up here in my area to this freaking rally. This thing that he said was a pro-police rally. It was not. Even the policemen who were there, I know some of them who were there, they knew exactly what it was. They knew it was a white pride rally. They were so disgusted with it. These men came up and were like flashing their tattoos in everyone's face.
Cheryl, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you in general, the support from the cannabis community, it speaks loud and clear, including since we've been talking about this, the number of people that were watching this went down dramatically. People don't want to hear about this. They want it to all go back to normal. They're soft on racism. They're cool with it. Mm-hmm. Everyone is cool with it, Cheryl. 90%
you can't be. Look, you can't be a human being and say that you're okay with this stuff.
Yet they are. They are, Cheryl. Yet they are. And this includes all. What's most like heartbreaking about this, Cheryl, is that it's so many people that you and I know and that we like and that we hang out with and that we're happy to spend our time with.
That took pictures with me.
And all of these people are deadly quiet around all of this. They're happy to remain quiet. And they shouldn't. They're all the, you know what? I guess at the end of the day, like, if there is a God, like, they're going to have to fucking answer to God someday. And if there is no God, then I guess it doesn't matter. We can all be pieces of shit, including most of the people in our cannabis community that continue to support racism and are soft on it. The people who are soft on it are more dangerous than the brazen racists. The people that are soft on it are what continue our culture. The people who are soft on it are what have continued the last like 100 years of what black people have been going through. And our cannabis community, finally there's an excuse for them to all stand up. There's finally an excuse for them to all stand up and be vocal about it. And instead I get threatening messages from people, and I get messages from people that say they don't want to be my friend anymore because I'm taking a hard stance on racism and racists. And it's heartbreaking, but it's also like, it makes me fucking angry. It makes me, it taints the entire cannabis industry. We seem like such racist, fucktard sociopaths. It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable to me. But anyway, the numbers don't lie, Cheryl. Like, people don't want to listen to this, Cheryl. They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear white people don't want to hear black people talking about it. White people don't want to hear white people talking about it. And I understand. And even this segment, like, and I know that you had brought it up because you feel strongly about it, and I appreciate that you feel strongly that people should be vocalizing, issues that they have with Masscan. But look, at the end of the day, what we all need to think about is, like, are we naming a price on our tolerance of racism? And what I will say is, like, anyone who is like, oh, Masscan has been totally an awful racist organization, not just in like leadership and potential ideology, but in action as well. And so there's all these people are sitting around being like, well, if they just do this, then it's all okay again. It's not. It's really not. How is that ever going to be okay? How are black people ever going to be okay with them again? And here we are as a bunch of white people saying, well, we shouldn't be tolerant of this, but here's my price for tolerance. Here's how it'll all be okay. Let them just make like a perfunctory like offering. Let them just get rid of one or two people out of an organization that was sitting like, look, Cheryl, the people that weren't tolerant left. The people that weren't tolerant resigned publicly. The people that weren't tolerant have come out and said something. And there's a whole bunch of people that aren't saying anything, including people we really, really respect, including people you've named that you talked to. They are giving you their price for their tolerance of racism. And it's disgusting. You want to know why? Because they're not black. They shouldn't get to decide like where that line is. Like, hey, all right, as long as these people do this, it's okay. Like, Eric gets to say that, and other black people might not even agree with his personal opinion, but like as white people, for us to be like, here's once it's finally okay to be racist. Here's once it's finally okay to like, here's when we get to say that we forgive and forget all of that stuff that happened. And maybe, sure, we won't forget, but like we're forgiving and we're just letting things go on business as usual because everyone wants to just get back to business as usual. The cannabis community is not displaying like a fucking burning desire to fix this. They are not. We're not zero tolerance. We're partially intolerant.
Everybody just keep talking on Facebook.
Yeah, and all the people that are still friends with people who are blatantly racist on Facebook, all these cannabis people who are like, well, I'm not liking their status, so that's okay. Like, it's not okay.
I'm still following.
There's nothing political. I've seen a lot of that too. I'm not going to unfriend. It's not political. It's a matter of hatred. It's a matter of ignorance and willful hatred towards another human being, and in an unwillingness to learn. So like my whole experience with this is that I've learned that every day I have to check myself. Every day I have to listen to my friends because I haven't walked in their shoes or gone through what they've gone through. So you have to be willing to listen and to say, hey, there might be some ideas that I have in my head or thoughts that I have that I'm not even aware of are like biased. or prejudice against another human being. But
you know what? You
if
know
you're
what I think
sitting
would be.
there
You know what I
saying,
think
I'm
would be.
not going to unfriend somebody who's hateful, why would you stay friends with someone like that? Why would you want someone like that in your life? Why would you want someone like that in your organization?
I think every time somebody in the cannabis industry sees a black person, they should go up to them and thank them for being black, because that's the only reason why they're in the cannabis industry right now. And I get it.
I know a lot of hardworking people in the EE program and they fight every day, and they're there because they work hard. They work so hard.
No, look,
they're met daily with racism in the city halls, in their town meetings when they're trying to open their businesses, and I just don't see enough support for that. And it's our job to start listening. Well, as white people, it's our job to fix this a little bit and listen, frankly, and open Cheryl, our ears and start active listening and really
Cheryl,
hearing.
It's the job of the white male in cannabis to be vocal about this. Women are already marginalized in the cannabis industry. Any woman that is going out and yelling that Black Lives Matter and trying to shake the white males in the cannabis industry into like acting the way that they should is going to be met with the way that they always have, which is, oh, you're not being calm and you're emotional. And so they'll find ways to like get to marginalize your voice around it. It's really up to other white males in the cannabis industry. And guess what? I don't see any. I don't see it, like, and I don't even think that I really count in this. Like, it's horrendous that I'm the only one that I know of that's really in Massachusetts that's really coming out as a white person and saying anything. Like, it is horribly embarrassing to me that all of these other white people are complacent. There's no, like, Cheryl, you and other late women who are in the cannabis community, like, if anything, you're the ones that should be trying to protect yourselves against abuse from all these like ridiculous racist dickheads who are already marginalizing you guys anyway. And now you're supposed to speak up and come out and be like, hey, you guys are all acting inappropriately. Like, if anything, the ladies are putting themselves in potential harm's way. The men are the ones that need to stand up and say something. The men are the ones that need to like lead by example. And I appreciate that Adam Souza went and was there. We didn't see him, but there was a lot of people there. I appreciate that he was there and videoing or doing whatever he was doing, because there was like nobody else there. I'm sorry. I think there were some people standing on the other side. I mean, the Super Happy Fun Group folks were there, and I don't know. It was tough to see. It was tough to see with all the, ridiculousness going on across the street from where we're all standing.
Well, I was proud of you guys, and I was so proud of you, Eric. Just like how you try to keep the focus on the appropriate issue, and you try to educate the younger kids around you to not resort to violence like the other idiots who are on the super happy fun people who've resorted to violence in the past. Like you tried, and you do a great job getting people around you at these protests to keep the focus on where it needs to be. And I'm so proud of you for speaking up for what's right and not giving a crap if it means having people unfriend you, having people say, oh, you're making too much noise. I'm so proud of both of you that you guys are doing the right thing. A lot of people have come to me as a nurse and keep asking me, why do people keep saying racism is a public health crisis? Because it is. Because just breast cancer alone is a glaring example of that. Black women are more likely to die in this country, in this area, in our state, where we have the best access to healthcare everywhere. We're more likely to die from lack of appropriate prenatal care during childbirth or breast cancer, because they don't have the same access to healthcare that we do. I see racism. I see the effects of racism within the healthcare system. So even scheduling surgeries or having access to specialists, it is a systemic problem that goes to every part of our world. And if you've encountered it, or you deal with it daily, or you see it, I think it's more than time that people start speaking up about it and standing on the right side of things. And you guys certainly have done that. So it makes me happy to be your friends and to learn from from you. And Eric, I learn from you a lot every day. So you make me a better advocate.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all just about, just leading by example. It's a lot to teach. It's a lot to learn, and it's a lot to teach. And sometimes, saying it is exhausting. So sometimes you just gotta go out there and do it, and hopefully people follow and listen and pay attention. Some people may not agree with what I do, and that's fine. But just like that, I don't agree with what they think. So,
Yep.
So it's just like, I guess is one of us is gonna learn. One of us is gonna learn. Either they gonna learn or I'm gonna learn. And I feel like people will listen to me more because I'm genuine. I'm honest. I make sure I make sure I do research before I speak, and I don't. And when somebody else is talking, I let them speak, and I give them a chance to say what they want to say, and then I say what I want to say, because that's communication is what it's about. And I guarantee when you have conversations with people who aren't up to date on what's really going on, or they're not really understanding what they're saying is wrong, when you talk to them for a long period of time, eventually it's just like an argument in a relationship. Eventually you guys run out of things to say, or somebody hits a roadblock. Somebody hits a spot where they can't answer anymore, and they start to repeat their previous answer because they're stuck trying to figure out why don't I have more information on what I'm preaching. And so that's why I always preach to listen, because when you listen, you get more information. You're able to collect more stories, and you are able to create your own idea, your own opinion. So when people are talking to me, I just keep asking questions back until they hit a roadblock, and then they eventually do. And when they hit a roadblock, I continue asking more questions to build up to fact check myself on top of fact checking them. And then eventually they listen. And that's kind of what it should be. That's how it should be. We should all be correcting each other at our roadblocks, because everybody clearly is a lot of people that have a roadblock. Nobody just got them there yet. Nobody talked to them to get them there, because most of this information they're getting is one-sided. It's on Facebook. It's on some internet meme. It's on something a friend posted that they grew up with, so they agree with them. Those kind of things is what creates these pathways in people's heads to keep going on about, whatever it is they believe in, but then they don't actually have a clear path. It's there, the chips are there in their head, but there's no clear path. So then when they talk to somebody who does have a clear path to where they want to go with the conversation, they hit a road. The people that they're talking to, they get them to hit a roadblock, and then that's when they get defensive. Now they're mad because they're like, no, I'm still right, but you're not.
Right.
Because I just told you you're not. And I proved to you you're not in a conversation. And then now they want to take it out on you and don't want to be your friend no more. That's crazy to me, because now it's like, yo, you didn't learn anything. You're not trying to grow. What you're trying to do is make yourself feel right about a situation you're wrong in. And that's wrong. Growth is about finding where you're wrong.
Yep.
And growing from it. I know where I'm wrong in a lot of things. I know where I'm wrong in relationships. So I try, in my next one, I'm gonna know where my roadblock is, and I'm gonna know how to build from that. So that's why this is hard for a lot of people, because they don't want to grow. They want to live in a small-minded box, and it's
hard to admit that you're wrong. It's a hard thing, and it's
hard. It's hard for a lot of people.
But we're here to learn from each other, and so
Well,
I agree with Eric.
It's hard for me also to say that we're running way over, and unfortunately we have We have a guest on the west. We have a guest on the west coast that's been waiting patiently. We have a guest on the west coast that's been waiting patiently. Rick Campanella has been waiting patiently to come on. So we do need to switch gears because they're supposed to have a fun segment talking about non-racism and stuff. So we got to kind of do a little palate cleanse here for So this way Rick and Jodi can have a nice, pleasant conversation about growing plants and genetics, and not that, because unfortunately last time Rick came on, he came on right after we were doing some talking about stuff too. So I feel bad for Rick. So we're gonna.
That's when we had Eric.
Yeah. So yeah. But we do appreciate you, Cheryl, coming on every Wednesday with us for Rehabulous with Nurse Cheryl, and we're really excited for you to come back on next week. And despite that, I think today was an excellent conversation. It was really awesome to talk about like COVID and safety, but then also to touch upon some issues about racism in the cannabis community. And you have a lot of good points, Cheryl, about just sort of that, racism should be considered like a medical emergency and stuff. So we appreciate you coming on, and we can't wait to see you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Much love to you. Bye.
We'll talk to you soon. Cheryl Benedetti, everybody, with Rehabulous with Nurse Cheryl. She's awesome. Jodi, head on in if you haven't already. We're gonna have Rick is gonna sign on in, and we're gonna.
I got some food right here. I got some scallops and shrimp. I am starved.
So we're gonna get. Rick is just signing in here. We're gonna let Jodi on in just a second, and we're actually gonna shut our video off here for just a sec.
That's a nice hat.
Yeah, Rick. Actually, we're gonna turn our video back on with Rick for a second because we're gonna. Rick does always have a beautiful hat on, for sure.
I'd be in the virtual green room there for quite some time, so I'm sitting
Yeah,
here
really
eating.
sorry about that, Rick.
Oh, those is the best, yo.
Keebler. Oh yeah, man. These are the shortbread pecan sandies from Keebler.
Oh yeah.
I have no profits shared with the company or anything like that. I just like. I'm also drinking coffee from my Attitude Seed Bank coffee cup that Natalia was so kind to send me a couple of these. They're thermal, and I keeps my coffee hot in the morning, which I love because I hate when the coffee starts going cold.
Nice.
Very cool. So Rick, and I didn't put you on screen yet, but Jodi is just in the middle. Jodi's actually logging in with a couple of devices because she's got some cool stuff. She wants to be able to show you some of her plants today, but she also has one of those trike microscopes. And so she's just setting up a couple of things here. She'll be ready in just a second and Rick, she also has an issue that I think you're going to be able to really help her out with, which is that she unfortunately did start some of her plants not knowing if the seeds they weren't feminized. So she, it's one of those crapshoot things, right? And so, and Jodi, do me a favor and don't share the screen yet because you're not going to be doing that part yet.
Well, I just need help. It's not letting me join on my iPhone or my iPad. So I just need to get the meeting ID, and I could only do that through joining on my laptop. So I won't share, but that's what I'm doing right now.
No, it's okay. It's fine. Nobody can see that anyway. I'll send you the.
Okay, I have it now. I have it up on my.
Oh, good. Yeah. So Rick, Jodi, at some point she's gonna pull some plants over also, and try to show you the area that should be the part that you look at, and to figure out if it's male or female, and then you can give her your 2 bits on why she should be using feminized seeds to start with, and not
if that's necessary.
Yeah. Well, and Rick, she's been running the risk of pollinating the rest of her plants because she's got potentially a couple of male plants hanging around.
All right, let's see what we have when the time comes, and telling the difference between a male and a female well before the male ever releases pollen is super easy. So nobody should ever really find themselves in a situation where, oh my, this male has gotten out of control and let a lot of pollen free in my room, because they're just that obviously different from a female that you would know it way before it ever became a problem. So let's have a look and see how far along this situation has gone, whether it's past that point that somebody should have seen it as a male or what, Kid, I'm sure it's potentially going to be very humorous.
So, Jodi, go ahead on your iPhone. Jodi, go ahead and turn the iPhone sideways and go ahead and mute your
echo tunnel.
Yep, just mute those other ones. Just leave your iPhone unmuted. And turn that iPhone sideways for me.
Do I have?
Nope, turn your iPhone.
Oh, no, I'm still sideways.
Yeah, and make sure your other
Only
ones
on one. Okay, the iPad is fixed. You're straight up and down now to me.
Excellent. Yep. And so, Jodi, one last thing is just make sure everything but your iPhone is muted. And then I think we're probably looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go ahead and resize this stuff for you guys. So this way.
Okay. I think everything but my iPhone is muted, right?
I think we're looking pretty good. And,
hey, Latoya, I'm hungry.
Give me just a second here and get your titles all set, and then we're going to go right over to it.
I could really use, like, some apple pie, some caramel, some vanilla ice cream.
Are you talking about food, Eric?
Yeah, I'm just sending out messages.
Way too many angles of me to see. I'm not liking this.
If anybody is interested in making me some type of dessert, gladly appreciate it. Anything but chocolate.
Anything but chocolate. Guys, I am almost so ready to turn it over to you guys. Give me just 1 second here. Names, titles.
Anything. But I got some food right here. I'm finna pop over.
Oh, that's shrimp. I'm jealous. You got your own. You got your own breakfast spot. So, before we go to Jodi Chapin with Green Nurse on the Grow, with her special guest Rick Campanella, I would just like to throw out there that apparently I need my own breakfast sponsor now. So just throw that out there. Anyone that wants to sponsor my breakfast, I would really appreciate it. This way, I don't have to watch this man eat delicious shrimp next to me. But Eric, what I will say is that I'm really excited because every Wednesday and Sunday, Jodi Chapin comes onto the show with a segment that she calls Green Nurse on the Grow. And we've actually been really fortunate to watch Jodi progress with her home legal grow. She has multiple plants in different stages. They've been looking great. And Jodi's really lucky enough today.
My bad.
Jodi's really lucky enough today to have Rick Campanella join her. And so we've got a new look today. We've got Rick and then Jodi with 3 different cameras. I think she's going to do some trike scoping for us. So,
we get to see Jodi times 3.
So that all said, Jodi and Rick,
day.
thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Rick, thank you so much for being patient while we were running a little late. And that said, guys, please take it away, and we're excited to watch you guys.
Okay. Well, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Rick. I am so excited to have you on. I saw you on the show last week. I didn't realize that you were a master breeder and grower with Brothers Grimm, which is that's a seed company. Is that correct?
Hence the name Brothers Grimm Seeds. Yes, ma'am.
Brothers Grimm Seeds. And you're responsible for
Cinderella.
For Cinderella 99, right? And
most famously for Cinderella 99, and it's now been 20 years. It was created in 1999. And still people comment all the time, there's nothing outdated about this strain. It was basically one of the first hybrids that was intended to solve all the problems of indoor growing. In other words, the height restraints and flowering times and density of bud and all that sort of thing, and also to be anti-hermaphroditic. So all of those things in 1999, when it hit the market and was reviewed all over the world, in Amsterdam, for example, they said this could be the holy grail of indoor marijuana, as it kind of ticks all the boxes that the things that are desired for indoor growing. So anyway, that's my claim to fame. And recently we've had some successes with other strains like Rosetta Stone, and all of our Fem line is being super well received. And there are a lot of commercial growers and commercial grow operations right now that are growing thousands and tens of thousands of our Fem seeds. So we can talk about feminized seeds, which I don't like the word feminized, because it makes it sound like you can have any kind of seed and then magically, do something to them and feminize them. That's right. Not how it works, people. Okay. So let me let you take the floor and show me what it is that you wanted to show me today. Ask me the questions you wanted to ask, and I'm all ears and eyes.
Okay, awesome. I don't know which camera to look at. This is really confusing me because I have all sorts of things going on right now. Just look at yourself like I do, and in my iPhone. What the hell is he looking at? Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know anything about my segment, but just like a quick little rundown to introduce myself. So I'm Jodi. I have been a nurse for 31 years, primarily in a hospital setting, doing labor and delivery, bringing little babies into the world. I became a medical patient 4 years ago. First time I'd ever learned I had an endocannabinoid system, and it was really the first time that I started utilizing cannabis, as part of my health routine, as part of, to mitigate, different effects that I was having from pharmaceuticals. That actually helped me get off pharmaceuticals and such. And during that journey, when I became a patient and trying to figure out what was working best for me, I was finding, I'd like a flower or a strain that I got from the dispensary, and then they wouldn't have it anymore. Or I'd look up strains on Leafly and see, ooh, this would help with my condition. And they weren't anywhere to be found. I'm also a green nurse. I do consultations with patients. I'm director of nursing, the Green Nurse Group. And for the last couple of years, we've been working with patients. We've been working with the medical community, getting the education out there, helping to decrease the stigma, but really to let people know that there's more to this plant than what history has dictated, and that started my journey to grow it for myself. Now I can't grow a tomato plant. I have, 2 black thumbs, and, I'm lucky that my kids are alive. They, from a benign neglect, they can make their own.
You're the real nurturing type. Yes.
Right. Get out there, feed yourself. No, but, so, and that's when I decided, okay, let's see if I can grow this weed. And, from reading books and going online, it scared me. I would try, I would fail. I joined a whole bunch of groups on Facebook, but, I didn't post any. Right. I mean, there was so much information out there, and there was some I just couldn't I couldn't process it all. I had lots of failures. And then with Green Nurse Group, I had this idea, well, let's have Green Nurse on the grow. But because of those fears, I didn't get it started. And it wasn't until COVID when, Mike and Eric were like, hey, did you want to show your plants? And I didn't think it was going to turn into this, but it's been great because I've been meeting, master growers, and I've been connected with some amazing people and getting some real good information. And, and I think I've done a little better. I mean, I definitely, it's been a learning curve. And I guess I'm doing a little bit better than I actually gave myself credit for. I have plants that are in different stages of grow. I have a grow room, so I have a specific room, but then I have 2 tents in here, a 4x4 that's in flower and has 4 plants in flower, and then I have a smaller
2x4 that has 2 plants in flower. And then in the rest of the room is my what I consider my veg room, and that has 6 plants in different stages. So, I'm gonna take my iPad and show you the different plants, I think, because I took them out of the tents and kind of surrounded myself with them. So I have two in flower that are just today 10 weeks into flower. So I would think that between those two, and now that I have this new microscope showing lots of amber, that, you know, one or both of them might be soon to harvest. So they've been, I've been flushing them for the last week.
Tell me a little bit about that plant that's been flowering for 10 weeks, and starting with you're defining the flowering period to start from the first day of 12/12 light cycle. Yeah,
that is correct.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
because sometimes I'll talk to people and there's another assumption they're making, and I want to make sure we're on the same page there before I say anything further. So 10 weeks is a pretty long time for flowering, unless it's
and one of them, and the one was a plant that I had won. Wait a second, okay, I'm just trying to see. I want to.
What did you know about the seeds when you bought them, and what were you expecting them to grow into?
So let me tell you about this one. So this is a Beantown Greentown strain called Hazy Bastards. I won this already pre-grown in Veg State back in February. Okay, so I brought it home. I had gone to a seeds and clones class, and this is something I won off of a raffle. And this is definitely, I'm hoping that I'm holding it fairly steady. I'm on my iPad. This is the one that I think is closest to definitely hard. This is the one I'm seeing lots of amber underneath the microscope when I can hold my hand steady.
Here, then, in addition to, you know, a lot of times people will overemphasize this business of staring at trichomes to decide whether the plant's ready to be harvested and so on. There's a little bit of common sense you can apply too, and that's like, has the plant stopped growing altogether? If it has, it's ready to harvest. You know, so the amber colors of the trichomes and stuff, that's kind of it's a subtle thing. But as a beginner, you hear so much about it, and your tendency as a beginner is to dive into things and not underdo anything. All mistakes made by beginners are always from overdoing something. It's never that they underdid anything. It's just not the nature of a beginner to do that. There's also something beginners suffer from called the gee whiz factor, where, you know, every new gadget and such, they want to get into it. And so this whole trichomes and microscopes and things is appealing to you big time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But really, it's quite commonsensical. You look at the plant, if it has really kind of ceased all growth, and cannabis grows rapidly. So while it's growing, you notice every 3 days to a week, I mean, you've seen substantial differences in the growth of the plant. If all of that has come to a standstill, do I need to write that down and draw a picture? I mean, it's ready. And trichome colors and all that, they will turn color to whatever they're going to turn to as it's drying and curing in your wherever you have a humidor or whatever you're drying in. So you're overemphasizing the importance of this trichome color and so on.
So with this,
but do you want me to look at the ones you have, and like we'll go through the whole exercise anyway? I'm not discouraging that. I just want you to know up front.
Right.
This is you've fallen into a trap.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is fun to look at the trichomes and take pictures and see things up close. I mean, I mean, I'm a nurse. I like science, and you know, and I like looking at things real close.
I'm an engineer. I loved setting up environments for plants and stuff, you know. So right.
So I mean, I don't think it was. I mean, it's definitely a gee whiz thing, but once I can get a steady hand and figure it out, I'm going to have a lot of fun playing around with it. So so the Hazy Bastards, and then this is Matrix. This I had taken a clone that same night that I had won the plant for Hazy Bastards. So this is a clone since February. So and this is has been in flower the same length as the other one.
You started that around the same time. You know, the detail's super hard to see in my screen, but yeah, try to get a little closer.
Okay, here, I'm going to put light on it too.
Okay.
See if that might.
It helps a little. Don't overdo the light either, but yeah, I'm seeing it's pretty leafy, but it does look like you're seeing there's no more new pistils being produced, right? They've all turned brown.
Those are the little
aged.
white hairs, right? The
Yeah,
pistils?
that's the pistils, right? And they emerge from something called the calyx, and the calyx should now just be sort of looking like a teardrop, and it doesn't have those little filaments coming out of it that kind of make it look like a peace sign when they're there.
Right.
So they're either brown or non-existent at this point, and there's no new growth. This is a plant that's ready to be harvested and wet trim, hung to dry, and then later you dry trim it and jar it up, and you'll have a nice result. But that's done.
Okay.
Stick a fork in it, as they say. Right?
Stick a fork in it. She's done. Okay, so definitely those two.
Sure. 10 weeks of flowering. Most any cannabis plant, unless it's some really landrace sativa from Thailand or something, 10 weeks is going to be more than enough for almost any strain out there on the market that's a hybrid that you bought or won or got for free or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, both of them definitely look different. Like one definitely has yellower.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember, you know, cannabis is flowering in which season? Fall, autumn.
Fall, yeah.
So what happens to leaves in autumn?
They die off.
And turn colors.
Yeah.
So more with some plants than others. So that's kind of a personal thing from plant to plant. Some will do that more than others, but it's to be expected, and it isn't denoting any kind of a deficiency or anything. It's just normal that at a certain point the leaves should start to turn color. It is autumn after all.
Okay, so with this, when you say it's ready to harvest, so I'm just going to cut them completely down. I don't have to.
Here's how I harvest, if you're asking that. I mean, starting from the top of the plant, the nice colas, the bigger branches, find a point down from the top of one of those several, maybe a foot to say, 12 inches down from the very tip of the cola. You'll probably find that there's a convenient branch there that branches off. And if you cut just below that, then you'll be able to turn that upside down and picture it like a hook that you'll then be able to hang it from a line or a clothes hanger or anything. And that's how you section off each piece of the plant so that it ends up looking like it has some length to it, and then it has a hook at the end to hang it from. And you can pretty much choose your way as you walk through, cutting piece by piece off of the plant, and then trim off all of the larger leaves. Anything with a long enough petiole that you can see it and easily reach it with your scissors, that's a candidate that should definitely be cut off. Anything where the petiole is kind of buried in the bud and it's hard to reach to cut with your scissors, leave those alone. Those are for during the dry trim. You'll get them then. So just get the bigger fan leaves, and anything with a long enough petiole that it's easily obtainable and you can cut it easily, get those off. And then that branch that you just cut off and left with that little hook, that could be considered ready to be hung. And then you go on to the next one, cut yourself another little section like that with a hook on the end, do the wet trim on that branch, hang it, and move on to the next one until the whole plant's done.
Okay.
All right, and then you'll have, like, if you do it on a line, then you'll have a whole line of these foot-long branches that are hanging there next to each other, drying. And in about a week, you want to check them. The humidity in the room should be held around 50% that whole time. About a week into it, you can start to see if the leaves, and when you bend them, would they break off? When they get to the point where, they'll break off if you flick at them, then that's the time to start dry trimming and take them out of the humidor and do your dry trim and do a nice tight trim. And I like to put the buds one by one into a mason jar as they're done, and then seal that mason jar, and there's one done, and move on to the next. And for personal growers in small amounts like yourself, that would work great.
Awesome. And when you jar yours, do you use the humidity packets, or are you not a believer in humidity
absolutely
packets?
No.
Okay.
You're going to ruin it. Yeah. Because they're, the idea is good, but it's like there's a crowded room, and that crowded room is an analogy for all the buds that are inside the jar, right? That now this little packet's going to be put on top at the end, and it really doesn't go through evenly through the crowd. And the ones near it are getting a lot more of it, and the ones at the end aren't getting any, and it really doesn't circulate its humidity in the way that would be beneficial, or in a way that doesn't. I think it does more harm than good myself. I'm not a believer in those. And if you're putting them in the jar at the right time, my God, it's like heaven when you open that jar the next time anyway. There's nothing left to do. You're putting them in there in their perfect condition, sealing the top, and that goes off and it's consumed, typically within the next month or two by my friends and family and such that were the jars that
so I'm still going to have to wait another month plus because it's the week of hanging and then
you have about a week of hanging, and then you can start to think about dry trimming, but you'll probably be almost to 2 weeks by the time they're really ready. Because like I said, start checking, because in some environments, they'd start drying faster and it catch you off guard. You go, holy crap, they're super dry and like weightless now. I've completely over dried my weed. Don't let that happen is all I'm saying. Look early enough and keep monitoring it every couple of days or every day. You're going to be interested enough in this to want to look at it every day, I think. And just check that, are the branches pliable? Are they rubbery, or are they starting to get stiff and crisp? And especially the part that you're really interested in is the little leaves on the buds. If you can flick them off with like a toothpick or something and they start crisply breaking away, the plant's ready to dry trim and manicure for final bud that's going to then be jarred and stored. So there you go.
Okay, awesome. And what did you say the humidity should be in my
50%,
humidor?
about 50%.
Okay.
Seems to be 50%. A happy medium. When you first put in a bunch of freshly cut branches, that room may be up to 80% humidity, right? So you want to have a fan blowing in there and keep the air moving around. And whatever humidity control here in Colorado, we need to add humidity. So what would happen in my room would be that over the course of a week, that 80 or 75% humidity that we started at would drop to like 50 within a week and start to head toward 30s within the next week.
Ooh.
So I would need to then move a humidifier into the room and flick that on. When we start to see it dropping below 50, we try to keep pumping it back up to like 55 and then let it drift back down to 50, 45, whatever. And so by doing that, you're kind of letting the weed hang there and hover around the right humidity, and it's drying, but it'll only dry just so far, because even if you're storing dry bud at 50% humidity, it's going to maintain its proper humidity and be smokable and enjoyable and perfectly fine for quite some time. So it's a good humidity point. But don't be afraid if you drift down into like 35% and then you pump it back up, or if you have to dehumidify, you're going to want to keep it down below 75, 80. Obviously, even 65 starting to be where mold becomes an issue and things. I don't know your environment. It may be.
Yeah, well, this past week we've had lots of thunderstorms, lots of humidity. So the room. What about?
Do you ever see any mold or powdery mildew or anything? Have you ever had to battle that in your grow?
I did my very first grow that I did outdoors. I didn't realize.
I'm talking about the room that these plants were growing.
Oh, no. This is all new.
So it's unlikely that even if during the time while they're hanging, the humidity fluctuates up and down a bit, it's unlikely they're going to get powdery mildew because they're not coming from a room or where that was happening anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like you're in good shape. Did you have one that you thought you couldn't tell whether you're looking at a male or female or something like that there?
I did. Let me zoom around because here's another one of my flowered ones. This is one I'm not quite sure what the strain is, but I saved her from dying. But she's a few weeks. She's 3 weeks behind the other two, so she's probably not ready to. I don't know. Actually, you tell me. Do you think she would be?
Well, when I was telling you earlier that you're looking for all of the pistils have turned brown, you're not seeing any new ones forming, and the growth has all but slowed to a crawl, or it's not growing at all anymore. And that, these aren't going to be much longer. It doesn't look like, does it?
Okay. No, I think she's
Within a
soon
week?
behind.
Yeah. But that's not a problem because going 10 weeks with the other plant was probably way too long anyway.
Right.
10's a long time.
Yeah.
8 weeks is typical. 9 that happens frequently. And then you have your 7-week, 50-day plants. You know, so I've seen people who have females that have flower only 45 to 50 days. And I've had
wow.
those myself.
This one right here is 5 weeks into flower.
Yeah, and that's clearly still growing, and lots of white pistils are evident on it. So you know that, okay, that one's still growing, and let it go. When they start to slow down and have nothing happening anymore, and you don't see any new pistils forming, you can be pretty sure that there's no point leaving it in there anymore. Harvest it and get some new plants in there.
Awesome. And then these are just 3 weeks in, so they're still pretty.
Yeah, they look
early.
fine for 3 weeks. Yep. They're nice and dark. You're not afraid to give them fertilizer. That's good to see.
Yeah, no, I feed them Nature for the Gods is the line that I use
Those
for them.
are good. Yeah, that's a good line.
It's been recommended, and so far I'm very happy with it. It's very easy to feed. I do a feed water schedule. I've been having to do a little more water just because before we had all this rain, it was very dry.
That
but
looks
I
like
have,
a very sativa-esque plant there right in front of us.
Yeah, with the long little fingers.
Yeah.
Well, this is one that I can't seem to identify. So let's see. Do I know the strain? Somewhere buried is the strain.
Well, are we worried about the strain or whether it's male or female?
No, but that it's male or female. I was just trying to find you a name.
Okay, no biggie. That's not important to me.
But I don't see any of the pollen sacs.
No.
I can't really.
If you would just sort of focus on the crotch where a branch is coming out of any part of the main branch, but near the top there, like in front of us, zoom in on, by your fingers. Yep.
Like right
Come
here.
on in. Yep.
Okay.
But I want to see the very crotch. There you go. Okay, stop there and try to focus. That looks to me like a female. Let's go up a little bit. You see that next node right there? There you go. Zoom in there and try to hold that position if you can. Does that not look like a calyx with pistils coming out, or is that just the spur that sometimes forms at the crotch? Because you'll see the spur, and then next to the spur will be the flower. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like the calyx, but I just don't see any pistils coming out of it yet.
No, maybe not. Go down another node to the older nodes because they'll have had longer to develop, and maybe there'll be a calyx at the next one. Okay, so you're coming down and you see that one there. And the one thing you'll want to look for is that if you ever see what looks like more than one calyx in the same place, then that's a male. Those are male pods. The calyxes always come out singular. You won't see two of them at the same time.
Okay.
And if there's pistils coming out of it, it's definitely a female.
Okay. I don't know why this just doesn't want to be as clear.
It looks likely to be a female to me from everything you've shown me, and I can't see it as clearly as I'd like, but if I were there, I'd probably be able to see it from 3 feet away.
Right. And I mean, and these are kind of the same. I mean, there's
that's a much different structure, different genetics there. That's a heavier, stockier plant, more indica-like, just to use the term loosely.
Yeah, the other one was my only sativa-looking one.
Right. And they are from the same seed, Patriots?
No, I have all sorts of different some of them are mystery seeds. This one, I had a lot of seeds donated to me and just given to me. And since I was just kind of playing around with trying to grow, I wasn't expecting to be successful. So I was just kind of messing around with seeds that were given to me or that I had bought at,
I always find it interesting, amusing, perplexing, whatever people will say, well, I'm just kind of screwing around here, trying to figure this out. And, so I didn't want to buy good seeds. I figured I'd use these seeds that people gave me, donated to me, or I got cheaply one way or another. And I'm thinking like, okay, now let me follow your logic here. So you're saying that you're hoping to have a good result with very little experience and skill set, but you're going to somehow, I don't know, how is it an advantage to start with less than reputable seeds or something that you know that these should give me a good result as long as I do everything right? You know, throwing that additional degree of freedom in the uncertainty of your outcome just seems kind of silly. And seeds are so inexpensive for what you get. Like if you spent $100 on a pack of seeds, you got a really good pack of seeds that could be potentially going to give you a female that you could clone and create new crops from for the rest of your life, i.e. it's a perpetual money generator for $100. And it's going to guarantee that even if you're a beginner, you keep this thing alive from the time it sprouts until you can get it to harvest. It's a strain that's reputed to be one of the best ones. So you know you're going to get great bud from it. Why would you roll the dice and say, well, I don't know what the outcome's going to be, and I won't be able to judge how good of a job I did because I don't even know what results I should expect. So how do you measure your success if you don't know what success even is with that strain because you don't know anything about it? It's just this mystery seed that you're growing. I don't know. Don't try to explain it to me. I'm just telling you how I see it.
And I mean, that totally makes sense. I think, you know, going with my next grow when I pop new seeds, I'm going to, you know,
just
definitely be
send
more.
your address through the show here, and you'll have some Brothers Grimm seeds to grow. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Really?
Well, why wouldn't I do that? I'm here on the show with you.
Right. I'm going to put this
We've made each other's acquaintance. As a professional courtesy, I'll send some seeds your way.
Oh my God.
Michael, I always help the folks out on the show. At least, you know, I'm willing to give a pack of seeds every time I come on to somebody, you know, and you're getting more than one. All right.
I would totally do that. And I mean, you know, if I could, and especially if they're genetics.
Are you saying are you trying to accept my offer there? You're being a little long-winded about it. A simple
no,
say thank you.
Well, I'm totally, I'm totally thrilled. Like I'm totally thrilled. And
right.
you know, I'm nervous because I want to make you proud.
I've got a lot of work to do.
When I grow them.
I don't want you gushing all over me. Like I feel the urge to now step off stage and say, all right, take the mic and finish. But I hope I helped you out today. And please get your address through with the show, and I'll send seeds your way and a little thank you note for the chat today. And hope to see you in the future.
Rick.
Good luck to you. You seem to be doing a good thing and having fun with it and helping people. What's it all about, Alfie?
Right. It's, you know, totally about overgrowing and sharing and living our best life, you know, and you've just helped me, you know, with all those suggestions. You have no idea.
You give long-winded thank yous, Jodi.
I know. I'm sorry.
I have my flaws too. I have a hard time getting off the phone sometimes because I always feel like I'm being too abrupt, you know.
Well,
I go now?
That's okay, Rick. We're on, and we know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate that.
I sat in the green room a little extra long today too. So
we're really sorry about that, Rick. We'll try to.
You did that to me.
I'll try to be a little bit more mindful about that next time. But we really appreciate you being patient and coming on and giving Jodi so much good advice. It's for her to be able to have somebody of your caliber come on and be able to provide some input is really invaluable for her. And there's definitely people that follow her every week and watch this. So I know that they'll be getting some good information off of you too, Rick. So we really appreciate it. We want to be respectful of your time. So
it's always a pleasure to be on with you guys and whomever else you have on the show. And your producer, Heather Marie, she's just dynamite to talk to off camera, and then she gets you prepped well for the show. So it's a group effort. I can't take all the credit. I love being on. You all take great care of yourselves. Until next time, and all the best. Jodi, give them your address so I can send you some seeds.
Oh, yep.
I'm out of
will.
here, right?
I'll be right on that. Thank you so much, Rick.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rick.
You.
Bye.
We'll see you soon,
I
Rick.
have no idea how to get out of here.
I'll help you, Rick. I'll help you. Hold on. Oh, he figured it out. All right.
We didn't get to do the microscope. That's okay. We'll do that another time.
Yeah. Well, and clearly Rick was, he sort of questions whether or not you really need the.
Yeah. I think that's going to be more my little fun toy to try to figure out. He probably wouldn't have been able to sit there through my shaky hand anyway.
Right? So Jodi, thanks so much for coming on, and I know it's not easy to sometimes maybe to have somebody new coming in, but I think it was really cool to have somebody kind of give you like a different perspective on stuff. And even with the whole trike, his whole thing of like, hey, there's other ways to really look at the progress of your plants to help to figure that out. You don't just have to go by the coloring of the trichomes and stuff. So I thought that was really cool.
All right. Yeah, that was awesome. And I'm very excited to get seeds from him. I'm jonesing to.
And Jodi, don't forget that Eric needs to take taxes.
It's all right. Hey, Eric, I'll share. I plan on having a competition with you, see who can have the better grow.
Oh, I know you will share. You ain't got no choice.
Hey, Jodi.
Yes.
Do you
like yes?
Do you Jodi? Do you happen to have anything to smoke with you?
I do.
Oh Lord.
All pre-rolled.
So I guess that means that you and Eric can
do the ending credits.
Yeah, I'm just trying to set it up here.
Take one of me off.
It's nothing, and by the way, he was totally right, but it's nothing like being reminded by somebody like Rick that like, hey, you left me in the green room for too long. I'm like, oh God.
Totally threw you under the bus, right?
And so, by the way, before we go, I just want to say that I did feel that I knew that Rick had been waiting in the Zoom room for 15 minutes. And so I might have been a little abrupt maybe at getting Cheryl off. I know that we were having like a good conversation about stuff.
Well, you were having an important conversation.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that even though I have really strong opinions on stuff, like I definitely appreciate Cheryl and a lot of other people out there who are really taking some risk upon themselves by being vocal about it. And I won't go into details, but Cheryl certainly felt that too. She felt actually a lot of pressure outside of the show to not say anything, especially knowing that she was coming on the show. So the fact that she did say something means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to Eric too. And so I just didn't, even though I was sort of like getting passionate about stuff when Cheryl was talking, I hope it didn't come off that I had anything less than a lot of respect for her for the stuff that she was saying. But that all said, Jodi, your grow is looking really amazing and awesome. Are you about to be stuck in? Are you harvesting? Before we go? Are you harvesting?
I'm going to. I'm going to harvest at least 2, and then my Tanya OG is going to be soon after that.
Are you going to harvest today?
I will probably harvest maybe this evening. I'm going to go pick up my CSA after we get off here. So I'm going to have to boomerang there and back.
Okay.
And then I am supposed to do some recording with Sherry tonight, but I plan to harvest. Did you want to go back on during harvest? What are you getting at?
I don't know. Maybe we should talk about it. Because the harvest is different than trim, and I don't know if you've decided if you're going to wet trim or dry trim yet.
Well, it almost sounded like Rick said you could do both, but I was planning on doing wet trimming first to get those big leaves off. I thought that was going to be the easiest with my arthritic hands.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's totally a dealer's choice. Yeah, if you're going to wet trim, then maybe let's talk later about maybe you coming back on and we'll do a little trim session.
Totally.
We'll keep
Totally.
you company while you're in trim jail. You'll quickly figure out.
Oh my God, that would be awesome. I'm gonna need company because that's gonna be quite the sentence.
So Jodi, thanks so much. And I know I do it all the time anyway, but I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt your and Eric's your ritual.
Our ritual.
Your closing ritual.
This is the second time we're going to be doing it.
Only the second? I thought it was at least the third.
Oh, maybe it is.
All right. Well,
you can start it,
all right,
Jodi.
who's starting it off?
You.
All right. Now it's time to go. Right? Or is that the end of the show? Is that the first one? Now it's time to go.
Because it's the end of the show.
We don't want to see your face no more.
And now it's time to light up a smoke. Peace.
Peace.